All right. First up, for this week's virtual science share, we have, or this month's, we have Symone Barkley. She's tuning in from Baltimore. She's a Baltimore-born scientist and educator with a wide range of experiences in the marine science field. You may be familiar of some of her educational outreach videos and live events online. She has studied algae, blue crabs, sand tiger, and sandbar sharks over the years in her undergraduate and graduate school programs. Even with her exciting research program, Symone's passion for educating young people about the ocean and environment remains at the forefront of her priorities. And she is currently the Chief Learning Officer for BIM's Black and Marine Science and a member of NAAEE's Environmental Education 30 Under 30 program. So she has a lot of awesome outreach and research work. So I'm excited to hear her talk today.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Can y'all hear me okay? Is it okay? Okay, cool. So going to go ahead and share my screen. Alrighty, so I'm going to talk a little bit about promoting environmental literacy in Baltimore. And so again, just a little bit about me. Miranda did an excellent job kind of covering my background. So I focused on sharks. I was a Canals Fellow and then moved on to be the manager of education programs at National Aquarium, which is located in Baltimore. And then the NAAEE program that Miranda just kind of shared, that's the North American Association of Environmental Education. I was awarded to be a part of the EE 30 Under 30 class of 2020. And through me being one of the 30 Under 30 environmental educators, I was able to apply to a Changemaker grant. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that I've been doing under this Changemaker grant. And, you know, before I kind of talk about that project, I kind of want to share what led me there. So you can see that my background definitely did include a decent amount of research and focused a lot on policy, but you know, I really didn't. I wasn't sure that that was the right thing for me to do. I wasn't sure that that's where I wanted to stay. And honestly, my graduate school experience wasn't the most fruitful in that I didn't feel as supported as I think I should have. And it really made me question if I wanted to do research anymore. So I think that that's really important for me to call out that, like, you know, while I really love doing work on sharks and I still do, you know, really care about doing research, I found out and was kind of led to try something different where I didn't feel that I would be as scrutinized as I was, honestly, when I was in graduate school. And so I already had, you know, a really deep passion for education, and I already knew that I wanted to really honestly reach back to people in Baltimore, to Black people in Baltimore, because they were me, they are me, and I wanted to show them, you know, that like, marine science is a field that you can go into. This is something that, you know, you likely already have interest in, but you maybe just don't know yet. And so once I became the manager of education programs at National Aquarium, I started to, you know, of course, kind of hone into some of the things that were at that my community in Baltimore were facing, you know, things that, you know, had prevented them from learning more about the environment, from learning more about marine science. And I kind of wanted to figure out a way to tackle that. And so if you've never heard of Nature Play, you know, Nature Play is a way for young students, young people to be introduced to nature, but to do it in a way that's really enriching. And so nature-based play, you know, really is an exciting and new kind of approach to environmental learning that celebrates children's agency. So when we talk about that, like we allow the student, the child to, you know, really take some authority over what they're learning, to be free in the outdoors, to, you know, to try different things, to learn about how the things that they experience in the outdoors affect their lives at home or in their communities. And then also, this study, Running Wild, really also demonstrated, just the value of creative nature-based play and helping them to be freely engaged in their local environments. And I think that this is extremely important for Baltimore because when you hear people talk about Baltimore, they talk about drugs, they talk about violence, they talk about, they talk about so many things without highlighting the beauty that is in Baltimore, without highlighting, there's so much art here. There's such a great sense of community in Baltimore. And also we have some really cool, like green spaces. We do have a body of water that kind of runs through the city. We have the Patapsco River, which is where the Inner Harbor is. And people don't think that anything lives there. There's not a lot of pride in the environment in this city, and there should be. And so in addition to the power of nature play, there's also another way that we can introduce students to environmental literacy, to the outdoors, to conservation, and that's through, of course, hands-on STEM activities. And I'm not going to go through this one because this one is, I think, pretty self-explanatory, that, learning with some hands-on activities inspires and engages students, and it helps them, again, to apply STEM knowledge to the real world. And once COVID hit, of course, in schools and in communities where there were historically excluded populations, they weren't even getting the opportunities to do experiential learning based in the classroom, which is already limited in Baltimore, let me say, even without COVID. So you want students to be able to engage in hands-on activities. You want them to be able to engage in nature-based play. And then you want them to be able to see themselves in literature and media. Less than about 11% of books show people of color in children's books show people of color, which is ridiculous. And so I really wanted to kind of do some research to see, and even though I know this already, do some research to see what literature says, what other studies have said about the power of including representation in books and in media. And there are two main reasons why that's important: inclusivity and perception. Seeing people in the media who look, act, and experience life like you do makes you feel included in society, and of course reinforces positive views of yourself and what you can achieve. And I think that that's also, again, extremely important in Baltimore and of course elsewhere, because if you don't see yourself being something different than what you normally see on TV, again, going back to how the media portrays Baltimore and how most people talk about Baltimore, then you may not feel like you can do anything different. And so in Baltimore, we started to introduce some of these new kind of like sustainable policies and regulations. We passed a styrofoam ban. There's a bag bill, that kind of says you can't you will have to pay for a plastic bag. But these policies, of course, have highlighted the issue that we all know to be true, that small businesses and under-resourced communities are going to have a lot of trouble adhering to these policies due to cost and access. And, people having to get on and off the bus or take public transportation, if they don't have a bag or they can't get bags from the store, then, how are they going to be able to get their food and all of the things that they need back home? Or if people are carrying those bags back home, they need to be able to do that in a safe way. And so it's really important that there are activities that help to give people the tools and the resources that they need to adopt sustainable behaviors in a cost-effective way, so that they can really adhere to these policies. And so all of those things that I've just shared, nature play, hands-on learning, literature, seeing yourself in media, and the new sustainable practices and policies that are being instated in Baltimore have led me to create something called A Piece of Nature. This is a project that I created through my Changemaker grant that I received. Now, so to talk a little bit about A Piece of Nature, it's really to empower youth in STEM learning and environmentalism. So our goal is to equip traditionally excluded communities with resources and knowledge to act sustainably in their everyday lives and advocate for sustainable behavior in their communities. So that really kind of gets to those like policies, right? That gets to making sure that they can advocate for themselves, that they can kind of push back against, the government, the city government, and elsewhere, if they feel like they aren't going to be able to adhere to the policies without their needs being met first. And then the second portion of the goal is to provide students with interesting and engaging hands-on learning activities and increase literacy in young audiences to help address the STEM learning gap and drive diversity in the field. So this is kind of a lot that I'm trying to do, right? And in no way do I think that, it'll be done overnight, but I wanted to try to take a crack at it, honestly. There have been lots of different, kinds of approaches to driving diversity in the field, right? That could mean developing scholarships and giving scholarships. After school programs is another way, right? We talk about so many different ways that we can help to not only expose our people to to this field, but also to retain them. And I think that while it's important to work on those who are, in college or graduate school or in their careers already, I also think it is extremely important to get students early. The younger, the better. And so if we can start to really give the students the exposure when they are in kindergarten and elementary school and middle school, by the time they get to high school and then going to college, they should have a community around them that is really supporting them in learning STEM and growing their confidence also. So I created these A Piece of Nature STEM kits, and I'll show you a little bit about them in one moment. So these kits actually include a book that is directly related to an activity that features a typically underrepresented or excluded audience. That could be girls, that could be BIPOC individuals. I also really want to include disabled individuals. My sister, who actually before we started this, we could hear her snoring. My sister has hydrocephalus and cerebral palsy. She can't walk or talk. She's 20 years old, and I don't often see people like her included in stories, in books, and when people are teaching. And so it was really important to me to try to identify books that do that. Also, the kits include all the resources required for the feature activity and a video tutorial with detailed step-by-step instructions for how to do the activity. So I just want to let you know that I usually I pick the books, I pick the activities, I write up a lesson plan for them and get all the materials and put together a box that I then send out to folks who sign up to get these kits. So in June, we started this, and the kit was to create a sun catcher. This book that you see here was the book that was included. It was about meteorology, actually. And so I normally give like a recommended age level. I give some science standards as well. And they were to create a sun catcher. So here are just some photos from kids who used the kit and their sun catchers that they created. The kit that I released in August was one that had the students creating or doing a fossil dig. So the book that was included is Science is Everywhere, Science is for Everyone by Dr. Jeanette Davis. And the recommended age, is also provided. The NGSS standards are listed here. And the kids were able to watch the video of me doing my fossil dig and kind of followed along with me. And then they were going to go through their own mound of sand that I provided to them, their own mound of sand, and then identify different fossils. And you can kind of see here in this photo, this is a great photo, and that, this young lady has found some fossils and kind of matched them with the key card that I provided. So here's some more photos of students reading, of doing the fossil dig as well. And so I just want to share some feedback that I've gotten from kids and parents. You can read these at your leisure, but the parents are saying that, when the kid finished the kit, they wanted to do it over and over again. Another parent shared that it's so important for our girls to see scientists with their skin color. And this is really talking about the video that I recorded during the tutorial. The students said that they had a lot of fun and they did it with their family. So they did it with their sister or with their mom and with their cousin. And I think that's also really valuable in that it's building a sense of community, right? And in sharing the knowledge that you've gained. And of course, they are excited to solve problems like scientists. They are interested in exploring. They like to dig and find things underground. They're able to, define what botany is, right? They learn that it takes hard work to be a scientist, to find fossils. And that, science is everywhere. Yes, they learn about science in school, but they learn about that. But science should be something that they talk about and learn about all the time. And so this is not all, like such a success story. I also want to share some challenges that I've had. So when I first released this kit or these kids, I had lots of people who I knew that signed up. And I think that was, of course, right, when people hear that you're doing something, they want to support you, right? They know you as your cousin or your friend or whatever. But what ended up happening is most of the people that I knew personally that signed up didn't come get their kit. If they did get their kit, they didn't do the activity or share it with me. And so that honestly led me to make some changes once I released the next kit. And I'll talk about those. But, another challenge that we had was that I didn't get as much feedback, so that's photos or pictures from the folks who did the kits as I originally expected. I had really just asked them to email their feedback to me, but I didn't get that option. I didn't really get as many responses. And then also there were individuals who wanted kids, but were not necessarily the target audience. To be quite honest, there were some friends of mine who wanted to have a kit for their kid, but didn't feel like they should get it for free. And they also didn't feel like they didn't want to take away from someone else getting the kit who really needed it or who was the target audience. And so to address some of these things, I decided to do partnerships with specific community groups in Baltimore. So instead of kind of having more individuals sign up to talk to specific groups and have them go ahead and purchase or request kits for their groups and then do the activities with them. This also ensures that I get the feedback, because if I can have one contact person for 10 students, then I can make sure that I get everything back from them. The kits now have a donation option on the website for those who don't want to get the free kits, but do want to have a kit. So there's a donation option. So basically they can get one of the kits and then also pay for a kit for someone else to kind of cover that cost. Since I did a lot of the hands-on activities for the first two kits, I'm going to do the last two to focus on upcycling and reducing waste. And those kits will be released in October and December. And so I just wanted to share this project because, I think that when we talk about, being in this field, a lot of times it's, you do research, right? Or you maybe do some policy work, but I don't think the education is often included. And I want to kind of change that narrative. I want it to be known that there are marine scientists, right? And all different kinds of scientists who do really prioritize outreach and education. And that honestly, we can't be successful scientists without those things, right? We will never move forward if we aren't being successful with outreach and with sharing our science with others. And so I just want to say thanks. Here are some photos again of kids who have done the kit or one or two of the kits. And there's my contact information there. If you know someone who would like a kit,